Hello and welcome to the 2011 New South Wales Election Leaders Debate. I'm Quentin Dempster. With just 8 days to polling day, our aim is to engage you, the voters, with the issues vital to the future of New South Wales within the Australian Federation, population almost 7 million and growing. Welcome to the Premier of New South Wales, Kristina Keneally from the Australian Labor Party, and to the Leader of the Opposition, Barry O'Farrell from the Liberal Nationals Coalition. If you don't vote for any of these parties, please understand that under our Westminster system, Her Excellency the Governor has to form cabinet government after each election and must commission a Premier able to command majority support on the floor of the bear pit. And that person traditionally is the leader of a major party, in this case Keneally or O'Farrell. So it's all about executive power. The rules of engagement are these. I will toss a coin to see who speaks first. Each leader will address us for 3 minutes with a 30-second warning bell, after which we will debate the key issues through questions raised by me. Each leader will sum up for 2 minutes at the end. Because there is a lot to cover, we ask each leader to be succinct. They may ask questions of each other and may request a right of reply on a substantive factual point, but this must be limited to around 30 seconds. So I'm now going to toss a coin and invite the Premier to make the call.
Heads.
Heads it is. Premier, I invite you to address us.
Thank you, Quentin, and thank you, Barry, for coming this evening. Well, we do face a choice about this state's future, a choice where there are two stark differences. And we have shown ourselves in government to be the good economic managers in good times and in bad. And indeed, we sit today with an unemployment rate at 4.8%, the second lowest of all the states, and with our budget back in black. Let's look at a few independent facts. Our hospital system in emergency departments and elective surgery leads the nation. Our kids lead the country when it comes to literacy and numeracy results. And our crime statistics, well, 17 out of 17 major categories of crime are stable or falling. Now, these statistics are good, but that doesn't mean there isn't more that we need to do. And indeed, with a budget back in the black, we can afford to invest in the future, particularly in the future for our families, providing fairness with a $250 rebate for all households earning up to $150,000 to help them with the rising cost of electricity, and indeed providing a cap on public transport fares linked to the rate of inflation. Now, when Stateline invited us to take this debate, when Quentin asked us to participate in it, he said that, given the timing, this would likely be the climax of the campaign, with all parties having their cards on the table. Well, you know where I stand, whether it's our Fairness for Families Act or indeed in a range of areas where we've provided detailed policies and plans. And you have to ask yourself, why do we know so little about what a coalition government would mean for New South Wales? Why won't Mr O'Farrell put his promises to the Independent Parliamentary Budget Office? And why are they putting out policies that don't mention so many key areas like social housing? And indeed, why have they had so little to say about the future of coag health reform for our state? Well, I think it's because Mr O'Farrell knows that if you know what he's really planning, you won't vote for him. So listen very carefully tonight. With people like Max Moore-Wilton, Max the Axe, circling around, gentlemen like Ken Baxter and Gary Sturgis, who themselves have been responsible for the loss of some 85,000 jobs in Australia, well, it's no wonder Mr O'Farrell isn't telling us what he's really going to do. Tonight I expect to hear lots of platitudes. I expect to hear lots about reviews. I expect to hear a lot about the past. What I hope we get to hear through the careful questioning of Quentin Dempster is a bit more detail about the future.
Premier, thanks very much. Mr O'Farrell, will you address us, please?
Well, thank you, Quentin, for this opportunity. This election is about real change. It's an opportunity to make New South Wales number one again. For 16 years, New South Wales has suffered broken promises, scandals and incompetence. And what this election campaign has shown is that as far as Labor is concerned, nothing's changed. More lies, more infighting, more unbelievable promises that will never be delivered. And that's why this week was a landmark in the campaign. For the first time in a New South Wales election, my team have signed a public contract with people across this state to deliver on our promises. A contract that details our key commitments and provides you with an assurance that we'll be held to account. If we don't perform, if we don't deliver, you can throw us out at the next election. Those commitments include lowering tax to create 100,000 new jobs, employing 900 more teachers and 2,500 more nurses, investing $3 billion in our hospitals. Importantly, that includes $500 million in regional and rural hospitals. It's about building the southwest and the northwest rail links, widening the M5 to ease congestion. With your support, I'll lead an honest, competent and stable government in New South Wales. And that starts with making commitments that are affordable and will be delivered. Labor could never do this. Labor could never sign up on a contract to deliver on its promises. How could they when, after 16 years in office, they haven't delivered one of the 12 rail lines they've promised, 7 of which were meant to be in Western Sydney? How could they explain their failure to cut hospital waiting lists, to build the roads and rail links that this state needs? Their failure to honour their promise last election not to sell electricity. So the election in 8 days' time, the choice couldn't be clearer. Between a Labor Party that's currently trying to shred away its incompetence, its broken promises, its dodgy deals, or my team that signed a public contract to deliver on our promises. It is time for real change in New South Wales, time to make people's lives better. It's time to hold Labor to account for 16 years of neglected incompetence. It's time to hold Kristina Keneally to account for the flawed electricity sale and for authorising the shredding of public documents. And it's time to tell Labor that New South Wales can't afford a carbon tax that threatens jobs and will push up higher prices for power bills. The New South Wales Liberals and Nationals will fix this state. We have the team, we have the plans, and we'll get on with the job. And we're simply seeking your support in coming weeks to again make New South Wales number one.
Thanks to you both. Let's talk about the economic future of New South Wales first. New South Wales has a robust and diversified economy, and the state government has a AAA credit rating. In spite of the dominance of the services sector, the state has survived the global financial crisis and the budget has been returned to surplus. Unemployment currently sits at 5.4%. I think that was in February. The Premier says it's 4.8.
It is.
We both agree it's the 4.8. State population is projected to rise by more than 2 million people to 9.1 million by 2036 on current migration and birth rates. The state has maintained economic growth but confronts acknowledged problems in service delivery because of demand pressures. Let's start the debate with a threshold question for any state political leader. Premier, do you want a bigger New South Wales, and if so, how big?
Well, of course I do. I mean, the reality is a city or a state can either shrink or it can grow, and shrinking is not an option. Shrinking is not an option. And the reality is Sydney is growing. What we need to do is plan for that growth.
We'll get on to planning. It's a macro question from which every other debate about New South Wales goes. How big